Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you hear me?
They can hear, don't worry.
Oh, they can hear? Okay,
Yeah,
because
we
I
do
can't
this
hear.
every week once.
Okay.
They got muted.
All right. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Nancy Wang and I'm an attorney. I practice here locally in the Bay Area. We have offices in Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose. And my practice area, I've been here in California as a practicing attorney for about 10 years, focusing on bankruptcy and also real estate litigation, and that includes construction defect, defect litigation, as well as some transactional work as well. And so I wanted to really get a sense of, if you guys have specific questions, I wanted to allow enough time for that. Because I'm not really sure, what everybody focuses on in terms of clientele here. And so we can just kind of get started. I'll try to get through the slides that I prepared, and then I'll open it up to questions if you have something specific or if you wanted me to focus more on an area that either I didn't cover or that I've kind of gone through on the slides. So the topic today is going to be the cross-section between buying and selling homes in bankruptcy, and I'll give you some updates on loan modifications because I think that's really going to change a lot in the next couple of years in terms of what the real estate market here in the Bay Area is going to look like. Okay, so the first slide, let's go to consumer bankruptcy. Now, people file bankruptcy for different reasons. I'm going to, mainly it's to give them a fresh start. In 2010 and 2011, really through 2013, when the housing market was very, very depressed, we were filing a lot of these bankruptcies because people had defaulted on mortgages and we were trying to stay foreclosure sales. Now, I'm sure many of you know that as soon as you file bankruptcy, there's what's called an automatic stay that goes into place. Now, the automatic stay is a freeze. It freezes any creditor from taking action on their claim to attempt to collect property from the debtor. The automatic stay is not a guarantee from foreclosure, though, unless either there's equity in the house or the debtor can make adequate protection payments in the bankruptcy. Yeah.
Automatic stay means the creditors cannot take action against the homeowner, and the homeowner also cannot sell any properties. So
you can sell properties, and so that's kind of going to get into my next slide. So let's talk about that for a minute. So the automatic stay, it stops creditors, including banks, from foreclosing on the property. Now, once you get into bankruptcy, depending on what chapter it is, usually chapter 13 or 11, when there's a property involved, the next question is, what are they going to do with this property? You can sell properties in bankruptcy, but we have to get court approval. Usually it's not an issue. So once you get court approval to buy the home, to sell the home in the bankruptcy, then you do a regular market sale because you're trying to maximize what you're going to get back.
Who gets the money?
The first lien holder is going to get the money. So if you're underwater, you've got
the first creditor.
The first creditor. So it kind of, and I think I have a slide about this. There's an interesting issue in chapter 13. If you have a second, third lien holder, anybody under the first, if the property is underwater, which means the property is worth less than the first mortgage, we can actually strip the second and third liens in the bankruptcy. So what has happened is in 2010, we stripped a lot of these second, third liens past the first, right? And then the client has stayed in bankruptcy. They've made little payments towards the mortgage because we go get court approval to let them pay less than their regular monthly mortgage payment, which was the reason why they're in bankruptcy in the first place. And now 5 years later, we have a lot of clients that are coming out of these bankruptcies. They don't have a second or third mortgage anymore. They only have the first mortgage. That property has gone up. So in the last month alone, we've assisted our clients to work with realtors, and I hope I can get your contact information as well because we always need realtors to work with. They sell these houses regular market sale.
So
okay?
they filed bankruptcy.
Right.
They got rid of the
liens.
Second and third liens.
Right.
They stay in the house.
They stay in the house, paying very little.
Pay very little
right.
to the first lien holder.
Right.
For like a
5 years. Yeah.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
And the housing price has gone up.
Right.
Okay.
And so now when the realtors are selling these houses out of my bankruptcy cases, you have a debtor that's walking away with $3, $4, $500,000 after having lived there for, quite a bit of time, paying very, very little. So it's worked out really well for everybody. The first lien holder gets all their money, which is the mortgage, Wells Fargo, whoever their first loan is with. The debtor, who is, had 5 years to live there, paying very, very little, because how much they pay to stay there really depends on their income. So so I have to do a financial calculation in all my bankruptcy plans to see how much they can afford to live there. And then I go to the judge and I ask the judge to approve it. And so that's what they pay. And then now, because the real estate market, it's doubled for some of these properties. They sell it, and they sell it free and clear of the second and third, or any subsequent, and they get the extra money.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a helpful tool if we ever get it back into a depressed housing market. Right now, I don't see it anymore because the houses are just not underwater anymore. So remember, the house has to be worth less than what they owe on the first mortgage for me to do this. Yeah. So this. All right. So let's. This slide, I want to talk about the risks of buying property in foreclosure.
Did you finish the first one?
Oh, let's see. We talked about the automatic stay, that as soon as we file bankruptcy, that stays the foreclosure and any creditors from taking action to continue to collect on debt. Chapter 7 is a straight liquidation chapter, which, I don't advise it if you have houses, because the Chapter 7 trustee is going to sell the house off for very, very cheap.
Chapter 7 is the final step.
No, Chapter 7 is a liquidation chapter. Chapter 13 is what we call reorganization chapter.
Okay. But Chapter 7 means the debtor sells everything.
The trustee. The debtor has no control.
The trustee sells everything and pay the creditors.
That's as much as they can.
And
they'll get pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chapter 7, to talk about it from both sides. Chapter 7, when the trustee's selling houses in Chapter 7, you might have clients that want to buy. And I'll talk about that. You might have clients that want to buy these houses out of bankruptcy. They're very, very cheap. And so how do you do that? That's going to be, so buying distressed properties kind of leads us into the next slide.
Nancy, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
I met a client before, last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which chapter the bankruptcy. So he still can keep the property and pay some money. Looks like he can retain the property.
You met somebody who was in bankruptcy and could retain the property?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. So they have the option. I'm assuming he probably went into bankruptcy not knowing anything else, but I'm assuming he probably went into bankruptcy because he's default on the mortgage, right?
Default mortgage.
Right. So, when we get this court-ordered payment where he's paying very little to stay in the property, your debtor really only has two options. He's either got to get a loan modification, right? A loan modification, and then he can stay in the property and keep the property if he can afford it. Or he's paying the past due back over 5 years.
Oh.
Chapter 13 bankruptcy plans are 5 years.
Chapter 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nancy. Hi, it's nice to meet you. Okay. So it is complicated. When you have scenarios like that, you should consult with an attorney and see exactly what's going on.
We will consult
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay. So just wanted to talk a little bit about buying distressed properties. I don't know. Has anybody had clients buy properties out of foreclosure sales?
Everybody wants to do that.
People are interested, but then it's hard to get.
Okay, is it helpful for me to talk a little bit about that, or about? Okay,
it's good. Everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
We always got a phone call. Can you buy this for me? Very cheap.
Okay.
And very difficult to find
So
out.
any property that's in foreclosure, the first step is the bank is going to record what's called a notice of default. That means if you're on any website such as Foreclosure Radar, there's a
NOD is notice.
Right, notice of default. So, so these foreclosure websites that I don't know if this agency in particular subscribes to it, but they'll give you a weekly update of these properties that are in foreclosure. And then you can't go in the properties. Usually there's people living there, but you can drive through. You can run the comps and see if this is something that you're interested in. If you're interested, then you just go to the trustee sale. Okay, there's a trustee sale date, and it's usually at 10 a.m. in the morning in San Jose for the properties around here in Santa Clara.
Every
County.
Friday.
In the county courthouse.
Yeah, it's in Superior Court. It's actually right across the street from my office, so I can see the line outside I can see the group of people outside my window that are bidding on these foreclosures every week at 10 a.m.
Is it all in the auction.com?
It's Foreclosure Radar. Yeah,
Foreclosure Radar.
There's a lot of websites, but
Okay.
Foreclosure Radar is the one that my office uses.
Foreclosure Radar.
Yeah, RADAR. Yeah,
.com.
it'll tell you when the trustee sale date. It gives you a little profile of the property, and somebody's interested in buying. It's got to be all cash though. There's no financing for buying foreclosed properties. So when I see people, I see a lot of them are represent Chinese from China. Their representatives are there, and they're just basically holding a suitcase full of cash. Yeah, and I look out the window and I say, "Wow, can you imagine how much cash is just standing on that street corner right there?" And it's outside on the courthouse
My friend
steps.
used to do that. He has checks like 200,000.
Yeah, you get cashier's checks.
400,000 cashier's check and different amounts. Then
to
pay
buy
extra,
different.
then get refunds back.
Right, that's exactly right, and it happens outside on the courthouse steps. It's not even inside, and it's actually an auctioneer that comes out, reads the address of the foreclosed property, and then people bid just like a real auction. It's pretty interesting.
How fast does it go?
It's fast. It's fast. When everybody gets there, I see the representatives with their headphones on. They have a list. They know which ones they're going for, and they're probably talking to the buyer.
So each house, like 5 minutes or 3 minutes is done?
Yeah, I mean, they'll keep bidding up until there's no more bids, just like a regular auction, and then it's sold to the highest bidder.
So just a few minutes.
So after they sold they bought the product, they cannot back off, right?
No, they're gonna hand over the cashier's check that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no backup offer.
There's no backup offer, and the other risk is there's no assurances.
No insurance.
Nobody
gives.
It's as is.
You don't know the inside condition inside.
That's right. You don't know
Even no insurance.
Yeah, and the third problem is, I mean, this is a lot of our clientele. So we represent a lot of these investment. They're like Chinese. They manage portfolios for real estate for people in China. So what happens after you buy a property at a foreclosure sale? Well, as is fine. Usually they're buying it for a lot of value. They might rip it down. They might flip it. But what do you do with the people living there? How do you get them out?
Yeah.
Right? So you have to figure in those costs when you're buying at foreclosure sale. You've got attorney's fees because now we've got to go in and evict the people who are living there. And so it's not like you buy it that day, you're going to get the keys that day, you're going to get to go in. Eviction is a process in California. And we have some properties where we can do eviction very quickly in 30, 45 days. And then we've got, even right now on my desk, I'm still dealing with an eviction, and this property was purchased at foreclosure sale 6 months ago. But that's the risk the investor takes.
So how much money is involved for the eviction? Usually, the average.
A clean one, really easy, is about $1,200, and they're going to go. So we always advise them, let us contact the people living there, give them $5,000, do a cash for keys. They won't rip up the property. They're not going to mess up your walls and take the toilet. And let us see if we can negotiate with them to just go quietly. But some of them, they're very angry because they lost their house. So
if it's a long process, how much will it take?
It depends. It's $1,200 initially for the unlawful detainer. There's ways that they can delay it. They do this. The tenants, or not the tenants, but the old owners, that they'll do these little things to buy time, like remove it, file a bankruptcy, right? Because there's a stay.
Yeah.
So I've got to go in bankruptcy court, get a court order to keep going with the unlawful detainer. They can remove to federal court. I mean, those things add up. You can have $10,000 in attorney's fees before you know it.
Okay.
So you've got to factor that in when you're buying distressed properties. Does anybody have questions or anything?
Actually, I know a lady. She worked in this kind of foreclosure company for several years. She said there's a lot of risk there, especially normally she inspects the property. If the property, the owner is very old, normally they shy away because she said the old people may commit suicide. They're big trouble.
It's funny that you brought that up. Actually, our firm had a case where we were representing the buyer, right? We were trying to evict the previous owner, and it was a house up in Silver Creek. It's a nice area up in San Jose.
101,680.
And the day of the sheriff's lockout, the guy went into his house and shot himself in the head. Well, now what's that property worth? The old owner, right? Now what? What do you do? Now the investor can't.
The disclosure next time you sell it.
Right, you're gonna have problems, right? Nobody's gonna buy the house, and I mean it's very risky. You get the houses at great deals. If it works out, there's a huge return. But this is the risk.
You also mentioned somebody like they said that they are like retired from like a veteran or something. They said they were protected by some kind of government law, because they served the country before.
Yeah,
so you
there's a lot
cannot
of
kick them out. Said.
Right away. Eventually, you can get them out.
But
your attorney's fees are mounting every time there's one of these laws, right? So
what's the worst case you would see in terms of time, longest time?
Oh,
or
gosh.
We
have. I think the longest I've ever seen is probably about a year. A year is a very long time, and that's them filing appeal after appeal and removing it. And, we're in every single court. We're in federal court, bankruptcy court, state court, fighting this eviction. But probably about a year. And a year, it's huge risk. You're the owner of the property. You're paying the insurance. You're paying the property taxes. Your money is tied up, right? And also, you're at risk. If somebody trips and falls on that property, you're the legal owner. They're going to sue you, not the person living there. So that is
so complicated.
But the people that have the stomach for it, these investors that have the stomach for it, the return is very, very high.
Yeah.
So.
Even though you wait for 1 year, and during that 1 year, the Silicon Valley housing price went up 20%. So.
Right. right. I mean, sometimes because the eviction took so long, they actually made more money. Because it went up, They're like, I'm glad I didn't sell, when I bought it a year ago. So. Of 363 sales in bankruptcy, that is a bankruptcy code section. So if the debtor's in bankruptcy and they want to sell their home in bankruptcy, we call it a 363 sale, which means we do a motion to sell free and clear of liens. And that's all that means.
What that number means?
It's a code section. It's 11 USC 363. It's federal.
Federal, right?
It's a federal law code section.
Is the federal proceeding.
Right. So all sales in bankruptcy are called. We call it's 11 USC 363 sales, and that is the mechanism, the federal law section code that
Section 363.
Yes, Section 363 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. It allows us to sell homes in bankruptcy. Allows us to do motions to sell free and clear of liens. I don't think that's somebody that's in bankruptcy that wants to do a regular sale. That's the code section.
So. And that the debtor needs to be agree on that, right?
Yeah. The debtor needs to agree. The debtor needs to agree to sell. If the debtor's fighting like crazy to keep their home, as you had mentioned, there's mechanisms for them to keep their home. But at the end of the day, if they really can't afford it, I always advise them you're better off going with the sale and getting some money back. So,
question: the homeowner didn't pay the mortgage, right?
Right.
But there's a mechanics lien on it. What's the priority of this mechanics lien?
I can strip mechanics lien and judicial liens in bankruptcy.
Really? How about the property tax lien?
Property taxes need to be paid.
Oh, so there's no.
I mean, they usually get paid in the sale.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
can't do anything about taxes. That's the one thing. The government
is it before the bank or?
Property taxes. If there's a property tax lien, no, it's the property. So you mean in a foreclosure or in a regular sale? In a foreclosure, or well, so they'll start the bidding. They're going to start the bidding at least as the amount that's going to cover the property taxes and the first mortgage.
Okay,
right?
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's unlikely, especially these days, that you're going to get a foreclosure sale that doesn't cover those things. Okay. Because if the house is, I mean, they're going to start it. That's how much they need to break even, right? So, so that's the number they're going to start the bidding at. I mean, it's these foreclosure sales, sometimes they're a little bit higher, or sometimes the bank's willing to take a haircut just to get their it's a non-conforming loan to them at this point. So sometimes they're willing to see what it sells for. And actually, if nobody bids, I mean, that's an interesting issue too. Nobody bids at a foreclosure sale. Either they could kick it to another date. So the bank has the choice. The bank is the foreclosing. I mean, the property taxes could foreclose too, but I see it more often on the bank side. They either kick the sale date to another sale date and see if anybody bids at that time, or they can just revert it back to themselves. So I mean, like
Or
Wells Fargo,
credit bit, right?
yeah. But Wells Fargo and Chase internally, I mean, they have a huge portfolio of these houses, these foreclosed houses that are just sitting around. And I mean that we've.
Does every single one that has to go through auction?
Yes, California is non-judicial foreclosure state. Okay, so states like Florida are judicial foreclosure. It's much slower because they have to sue in court to foreclose.
Yeah.
Right. This is non-judicial foreclosure. They need to record a notice of default, the NOD, and set a trustee sale date.
So is it
and that's it. So for the trustee, sorry.
It's okay.
So for the trustee sale, does it have to be go on an auction format, or is it just if you have a client and then you just match them up? How does that work?
It's got to go through all. Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna trust. There's gonna be a date, and it's gonna be on the courthouse steps. They want the highest bidder.
Okay. So is that why the California use the deed of trust, right? And for Florida use the mortgage, right?
Right. So they call it non-judicial foreclosure. Yeah.
Okay. Trustee don't need to go through the court, and
right in Florida,
mortgage you need to go through the court.
Right in Florida, you have to go through courts. That's why it takes them forever to foreclose anything because the court system is really backed up. Here is very, very streamlined. You know, once a notice of default gets reported, you can set a trustee sale date 20 days after that. It's fast.
Like except for Florida, where are the other states that are going through that?
Nevada, I believe, is non-judicial foreclosure. Utah, and then I don't know. I might have a list, but there are other states non-judicial. But in Nevada is a big one because I've had a lot of clients own properties around that Vegas area. It just gets clogged.
Can you mute?
Oh, is that? Yeah. So let's see what else I got. Okay, let's unlawful practice of law. I always feel the need to throw this in there when you're working with clients. You know, you always want to protect your client or potential client, but protect yourself always. Get everything in writing. Don't help. You know, if a client comes to you and says, I'm about to lose my house, what can I do? And you know, oh, there's a bankruptcy stay. I've seen realtors do this before. They help them with the filing of the bankruptcy, but you're opening yourself up to all kind of lawsuits. So definitely consult with an attorney and don't go to court or file motions on behalf of your client. It's not worth it. Yeah, you really need to protect yourself. I've seen these things go very, very poorly when realtors try to help with clients that want to save their house through bankruptcy or just, I mean, sometimes realtors are in the process of selling a house and the mortgage is not foreclosing. You can't get a delay on the trustee sale date. So it's kind of a scramble to see what can we do to delay the process. So I'll touch really quickly on the Homeowner Bill of Rights. The Obama program, which was HAMP, which was giving out all these great loan modifications, actually, the end of it was December 2016. We don't see that being extended. So you're going to see less loan modifications.
Can you explain? I know what it is, but people probably don't know what.
Okay, there was a HAMP program enacted by Obama. It was around 2010. And if a bank took federal funding or a federal bailout at that time, at any of those times, they were required, okay, because they took federal money, they were required to really they had to give out so many loan modifications because they got all this money to do it, right? So if you had a client that applied for a loan modification in between that time, it was likely that they were going to get it.
So, they probably don't know what loan modification.
Okay, so a loan modification is if a homeowner is behind on the mortgage, say they owe $50,000 because they haven't paid in 12 months, okay, and they owe $50,000, they're behind. A loan modification is if they owed that money because they had some kind of hardship, a medical problem where they couldn't pay, they lost their job for a little while. You can submit a packet to the bank, the first, whatever mortgage they're in arrears. You can submit a packet, and the bank would consider saying, okay, you owe $50,000. We're going to put that $50,000 back into the principal, so you're amortizing it back over a 30-year loan, and then we're going to reduce your interest rate. Okay, but you have to remember when they were giving out these loan modifications, a lot of them were for 5 years. So they had these reduced interest rates, and the interest rates were reduced to 1% or 2% on their loans, made it very, very affordable for people. But it was 5 years. So now we're getting to that point where it's over, right? And so now you see a lot more clients that's over, but they still can't afford to go back to their regular monthly mortgage payment. But that program is done. So it's gone up all of a sudden. We're back in distressed homeowner land.
So are you seeing that in?
I have been, yeah.
Even in California with all this equity.
Especially, yeah. So, right. When they have all this equity and they come into my office, my advice to them is I'll look at the numbers and I'll say, look, you have all this equity. You're not going to get another home loan modification because in 2016, that was kind of over. I don't see Trump extending. I just don't see him extending these kind of programs. And I say, you have $300,000-$400,000 worth of equity. I mean, I just had a client, they sold and they moved to San Diego. Got a really, really little condo, had a great house in Redwood City, really nice. And they could afford it when they had the loan modification, unfortunately. But the loan modification's expired now, and their financial situation didn't go up that much in the last 5 years where they could start making regular payments.
So selling is the primary way of just getting
the equity out.
Retained.
Yeah.
They can't do refinance though?
Usually they don't have the credit. If they've been defaulting on mortgages, they usually don't have the credit to do it.
But that loan modification, is that going to be treated by the banks as if they were defaulting in order to default it?
It's reported on your credit report as a default.
So I think after 3 months, the bank has already reported to the credit bureaus. So
the credit's already bad. They're not going to qualify for any kind of refinance. It's just
So what's the pay, Terry?
I personally have a loan modification in 2013. I mean, what was the year when Obama started to?
It's around 2010. Yeah, but 2013 well, I can go back to the slide. Okay. So January 1st, 2013, they enacted the Homeowner Bill of Rights. Right. Okay, it was a little bit too late. It was a little bit too late to help a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people had already lost their homes in foreclosure. Right. But the 2013 Homeowner Bill of Rights really prohibited dual tracking. So if you were in any kind of loan modification, if you were in, do you know what dual tracking is? Okay, if you're in an active loan modification application with a bank and it's active, you probably know this.
Or you cannot do the other one.
You cannot also put them in foreclosure. That's a dual tracking, right? Mm-hmm. So as long as you had a client that was in an active loan modification with a bank after 2013, they can't set trustee sales. They're not supposed to be able to foreclose. They were doing it anyway. They're doing it anyway. But the law is very specific. If there's a client where there's dual tracking, okay, I mean we can get an injunction, right? We go to the court, we get an injunction, and the bank has to pay our attorney's fees. So it made it a lot harder for the banks to put you in an act to say, oh, we're reviewing, and every time you get on the phone with them, they're reviewing or they want more documents, and then they'll call you up and say, oh, your loan modification's been rejected, and then your house gets sold the next day, 8 a.m. in the morning, or 10 a.m. or whatever the trustee sale date is. Yeah, so the 2013 Homeowner Bill of Rights was supposed to stop that kind of practice by the banks. Yeah. So I'm sorry, did you have a question about your loan modification?
No, I already sold my house. So.
You already sold it? Okay. All right.
2009, I qualified it, and then I paid lower than everybody's loan. Right. Because of
you got a loan modification.
Bill. Yeah, I got my
your HAMP
loan modification.
Is it under HAMP? Yeah, that's under the HAMP program.
Right. Yeah. So Wells Fargo gave me the certain rate, which is like only 2%.
Right. I've seen the step up. So sometimes they have first year 1%, second year 2%, third year 3%. Yeah, and it caps at 5.
Gone higher and higher in 2016, so I sold it in 2016.
Yeah.
So you made money.
I did a little bit.
Yeah. So
single point of contact means
the bank has to provide a single point of contact. That's also under the Homeowner Bill of Rights. You cannot get routed around and around and around.
Well,
you're not supposed to, right?
With
your loan, with your loan modification. In the past, you submit a loan modification and it like goes into a black hole. And every time you call, they route you around different people. Now you have supposed to have a single point of contact. And that's as attorney, just to remind me that under the Homeowner Bill of Rights, they have a really aggressive attorney's fees provision, which means that if you have to hire an attorney to go and make sure all this stuff is happening, or if they're doing something wrong, the attorney's fees get paid by the bank. Yeah. So, because a lot of homeowners can't afford attorneys, so this was very helpful in regulating that. for a while. But like I said, it got enacted January 1st, 2013. Is a little bit late. You had a lot of people already lose their homes by that time.
So according to what you said, after December 2016, they could be the foreclosure rate might go up.
I think it will. My prediction is that it will, because the HAMP is not going to, the program that you were qualified under the loan modification, the HAMP, the federal program, that expired December of 2016. It's not, it has, it's just, I don't think it's going to get
extended.
extended.
Is good in the Silicon Valley.
What's that?
The economy is pretty good in the Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but all these people that,
If they want to look for a job,
Yeah.
How about the interest rate for those loan modification homeowners? The interest rate keeps on going up.
Yes.
well, it usually caps at 5.
Five.
Right. It usually goes first year is 1%, second year is 2%. There's different ones, but that I saw that as the most common one. I don't know if that's the one you got. 2 and then 3, 4, and then it caps at 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Why it's still high? I mean, right now it's about 4%, 4.125.
Yeah, but anybody that's defaulted on a mortgage is not going to get that rate. They don't have the credit to get that rate.
So they cannot refinance.
Yeah. They can't refinance and they can't get the best rate.
So that's called HEMP.
Yeah, that was under HAMP. Questions, and I wanted to save some time for Q&A and see if you guys had any.
Ask the online people.
Oh, hello. I can't see them, which is just, I don't know if they're there or not. Can you hear me?
I probably muted them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You could be muted.
I have problem to get online, so I came over.
I was online for a bit.
It did.
While I was here.
So the program actually, the loan modification program actually started off January 2013. But then Terry, you said yours was
I
done.
applied in
Like,
2009
No.
and I got qualified in 2010.
2013 is when they enacted the Homeowner Bill of Rights to regulate the.
but the loan modification exists long ago.
Right. I mean, it was around before 2010, but really in 2010, Obama, enacted these federal programs to help people save their homes.
Oh,
And then
okay,
in
it started
2013 is when
2010.
the Bill of Rights happened, which is, you need a single point of contact. They can't dual track you into foreclosure, and there's all these provisions. And then you
drop down to the meeting name. I'm sorry. So what kind of meeting name you call it?
Let me get the secretary.
And so one other point to make is that you have to remember that if you ended up with a loan with a bank that did not take federal funding, okay, you with a credit union or somebody, they didn't take federal funding, they don't have to abide by these federal programs. It's completely up to them internally whether they want to modify the loan or not.
So that means starting like 2015, you've been seeing people
I've been seeing people,
get out of the loan modification phase. Oh.
Right.
And that's typically after a year or two after the rate hiked up.
Right.
So what you're seeing is 1%. Some of them 1%,
No.
some of them 2%.
Yeah, so usually what I'm seeing is, so in 2010, because the federal government was like, we're going to provide all this money, everybody was getting loan modifications. I saw a ton of loan modifications go through. 2010 was probably the busiest, right? But 2010, you got to go about 5 years from 2010, 2011-ish. And right now is when it's expiring, and then now they're just right back into default because they can't pay the regular monthly mortgage payment. They probably never could. So I've been seeing a lot of those people have to put their houses up for sale. But the good thing is there's equity.
But they don't have to go through bankruptcy.
Well, they do not. If you had a loan modification, well, they kind of do, right? Because now the payment is so high,
Right.
and they're living there. Now they're right back in default.
Right.
Okay, so now they're facing foreclosure all over again.
Okay.
And maybe the first thing that saved them for foreclosure back in 2010 was the loan modification, but it's not going to save them now. So now they have to file bankruptcy for that stay to stop the foreclosure, to either do a regular sale or if they want to keep their house. Well, they can do that in bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they
we do.
If they sell their house before their bankruptcy, then they don't.
Right.
Okay. Right.
That's right.
They're fine.
That's right. They're fine.
So it's just like a really short timeline that they need to have their house sold in the market.
Well, they go to the short sale.
Yeah.
God.
Well, it's not a short sale. They have equity now. Usually they have equity now. Yeah. They've held on to. I mean, those were really the smart ones. You were very smart. You held on it long enough until the market was up and there's equity and you could sell it.
Yeah, back then I was in between jobs, so it's easier
Right.
to qualify.
Right.
You gotta have something that
Right.
I
A hardship.
To qualify,
Exactly.
I think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's right.
I was the only bread earner in the
Mhm.
family, and I have 4 members in the family,
Mhm.
and I getting UI, unemployment insurance,
Mhm.
and I'm getting a Medi-Cal, which
Yeah.
is health insurance that you don't have to pay nothing.
Right. Right. Right.
Because I'm low
Right.
income payment, and by the time I got approved, and then I found a job. So
Yeah.
that's
So that was a
Great.
smart way to do it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a smart way to do it. So yeah. So
You have to-
I mean, the
it's
federal
the right timing for me.
It was. That was good timing. And so the federal programs, I mean, they did benefit a lot of people, but I think you're gonna see a lot of these houses come. These people that need to sell again. So whatever marketing efforts your agency
Because
needs
most
to do,
likely
whether
those
it's-
people didn't work in the past 5 years.
not most likely. I mean, it's just sometimes their income didn't go up enough
To qualify for new.
Salaries haven't gone up.
to start paying again on the regular monthly mortgage payment.
Oh.
But
Well, I'm just thinking about the math. So before they gone into bankruptcy, their house is worth say $1 million,
Mhm.
and then before they got into bankruptcy, they probably have first lien of $700K.
okay.
No,
Right.
you didn't hear that. She can get rid of the
second
second
lien.
If that scenario is flipped, if the house was worth 700 and they had a first lien of $1 million, then I can get rid of everything underneath.
The first
Right.
lien has to be higher than the house.
That's right. The house has to be underwater
Oh,
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
underwater for the first lien.
for the first lien.
For the first lien.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then you already adjusted it. You
Right.
already stripped the
Right.
whatever.
I did that in the bankruptcy. Yeah.
the second or third, whatever.
Second, third, fourth, whatever they have, judicial liens,
So-
mechanics liens.
Oh, but then if they were doing the loan modification, they haven't gone through the bankruptcy process.
Right. So you're talking about two
That
different
would-
paths, right? Well, actually, it is and it isn't. So you could do the loan modification while you're in the bankruptcy. So I have people.
Oh, you can.
Yeah. So I can strip the liens. I stripped the liens, and now they've applied for a loan modification just to modify the first.
Oh, so that
Right.
way they're basically kind of dual tracking from a consumer perspective, not from a bank perspective.
Dual tracking is only from as against the bank.
Okay.
It's not against the consumer. It's always against the bank. Yeah. So that's the best case scenario when you look at somebody who's in a bankruptcy. They can strip the second, third liens. They get a loan mod on the first,
Right.
Right.
And they stay low for
and they stay
5
low
years.
for a very, very long time. And then now there's equity. Almost
There's
all my clients have equity above the first at this point. So yeah. So.
Do you have a slide for your name and the phone number?
No, I don't. I just bought business cards. I didn't
we
realize.
just
So
get
you
your
can, you can,
business
you can
card.
type your
Oh, okay. How do I
type
do
your,
that?
website.
Okay.
So the other people
That
can
helps.
see it.
Okay.
Just put in Safari.
Okay.
So just type in the company's website.
Okay.
这样就没有时间，我们要去一个社区的retreat。你是哪
You mean in my website,
我
right?
想去，
Yeah.
可是我晚上先去 Bible study.
哦，
There you
对
go.
啊，
I think this is.
So this one, the first one.
3 months and then
那你卖了你房子？
Yeah, I'm right there.
So
So
this
that's
is
me.
that's the company,
don't catch me.
Yeah.
and right up there is the website.
Yeah.
Address.
This is the website. The address is gonna be over here.
Oh, that's
And then-
his last name.
Yeah. That's and then that's me.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
His
So-
last name sounds like Vietnamese.
Yeah, he speaks. So we have a few languages at our office. David speaks Vietnamese, and I speak Mandarin.
Oh,
You
you
speak
don't-
Mandarin?
I do speak Mandarin.
You
Yeah,
you can speak Mandarin?
yeah I speak Mandarin.
Okay.
I saw you. We never talk in Mandarin
Oh, well,
in the gym.
Oh, you guys know
Well, you
each other
can.
in the gym?
Yeah.
well, you can
Alright.
talk to me in Mandarin. I do speak
Chinese.
那你刚刚为什么不用中文讲？
哦，我不知道，每个人知道
我们全
在这里可以讲中文，
不知道他会讲中文
我不知道，
我也不知道
可能
他也不知道。
Yeah.
Promise, he invited everybody. It's okay, we can
So
speak
hopefully
English.
Yeah.
你比较 fluent in English, right?
Yeah，因为我是这里生的，
Okay.
我是在美国生的
Right.
但是
You
yeah,
finally
my Mandarin's
disclose
okay.
your background.
他讲 legal term 的时候一定要。
一定要
一定要
英文
美国呀我没办法
因为你是在这儿学
对
，right?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you familiar with international transaction fund transferring law, the international.
Oh, like getting money out of China to buy.
I do have certain money amount over there, and I'll have hardship to come out.
台湾
No, 不是台湾，在马来西亚，
和马来西亚。
气死人了。
That actually, it's funny.
Someone who take care of that for me, please. I can pay that when it's got out from bank. I can pay it out of bank.
So in the past, the popular thing to do was get that HB, the visa. I mean, you'd have to have, I think it's like a $5 million business or something. And I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
knows that.
I do. I have colleagues that practice in that area.
Please,
I don't know. But yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't you shoot me an email and I will
I will.
refer you to, actually my old firm in San Francisco handles
You do?
a lot of those. But you have to realize under the Trump administration, they're probably going to start cracking down on those.
Really? Oh my
Okay.
God. I really need the money out of there. Because they do have a stoppage with this and that, as all people who speak to me is very, very Malay accent English that I don't even understand what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
You know, people over there is Malay, right?
Yeah.
So they're very strong in Malay accent in English.
Yeah.
And then they use that accent to try to control you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what their action item is. They just, I will charge you this, charge you that. Too much charges.
Yeah.
I just want to get out of my bank. It's my account to my account. What's the big deal? They use what? Money laundry. They use, terrorism, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair for me.
If the money is in the Hong Kong's
It's
HSBC,
my account. Yeah.
then you can get into here.
No, it's not
HSBC,
Hong Kong
problem.
HS.
But how
That's
about
different.
Malaysia? I don't know.
I don't know. Malaysia is some kind of account.
Corrupted country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
thinking about.
I know that in China, I think aren't you limited to $50,000 per person per year to bring out officially? Yes, and then there's other ways to do it, but I don't know how. Actually, realtors are the ones that really know how because they have Chinese clients.
Later on, everybody's gone. I'll show you all my paperwork, and then you can refer me somebody that you think is pretty familiar or already had experience to transfer out the money from other countries.
If you shoot me an email, I'll send. I don't know what experience they have with Malaysia, but if you shoot me an email, I'll send you the only firm I know that would know anything about international money, currency, trying to get it out. Yeah, and I mean, have you talked to realtors because they're a huge source of information because their clients trying to get the money.
I don't know them.
It's probably more rare.
Very.
Malaysia is rare. So I actually have a question. So she's talking about money coming in. I'm actually thinking about money going out because of certain real estate projects that profits need to go back to the clients. Do you guys have special attorneys that does that, or?
We don't deal with any currency.
Just send money to Terry. Terry sent you the money.
There you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. I just need some money to transfer it out.
Well, what have you guys been seeing in terms of real estate trends?
Now.
Is it still pretty crazy? Real estate trends?
It is crazy right now.
I made an offer last week. It's like 6 offers.
Where?
And 1 month ago, it's like 12 offers.
Wow.
Yeah, last month was
680 in Beresa. The townhouse and the condos.
Okay. So even that area is pretty. I mean, I know the peninsula is really crazy.
Yeah.
Still, so.
I heard that.
Too crazy. It's hard to be a buyer's agent.
But right now it's buyer's market now, right?
No.
They turn around.
No.
Seller's market.
Still seller's market.
It's crazy.
I thought it's turning down.
So what? I mean, you can tell me if this is true or not. What I've heard is around end of last year, supposedly real estate market slows down at the end of the year, right? Because all these Chinese, the Chinese were scared that because Trump was going to make us more protectionism and harder to buy property and everything, they were just buying anything that
the rate probably is slowly gone up.
Yeah, anything that was available, it was purchased all cash, and they were. Yeah.
Can any lawyer be a realtor?
No, you actually need to. So lawyers can bypass the class requirement.
Oh, you have to take.
But I still, you like me or any other lawyer, you'd have to take the test. Okay. But you can bypass the education requirement, so you don't have to take it again.
Okay.
So that's the other. But no, not so.
But in the past, some county they only use an attorney to write those offers.
Yeah, I think they do that a lot in the East Coast.
Yeah.
East Coast tends to do that a lot. Like New York, I think still does that a lot. They need a law firm to handle that stuff. But California is not like that at all. Right. I mean, you really have the realtor and the brokers
They
doing
protected
everything.
the.
Yeah, I
realtors.
mean, right. So yeah.
Okay. Anybody online has any questions? Hello?
Can't tell if they're there. Hello.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. W. Anybody has
Yeah.
Any other specific issues?
the legal stuff's too complicated.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, if you run into, and
It's
that's
called one
The
head
key
and
thing
then
is to
too
define
big.
the right people and
They told
seek
that
for help.
exactly, and so that's why we have we work with a lot of realtors as clients as well, because these things come up in your closings and your, you know, and they just kind of need to know
Come up with
what
lawsuit
direction
with
to,
the seller
yeah,
buyers, yeah.
kind of.
So are you specified in real estate or
No. I specify bankruptcy and I do
Oh, okay.
litigation.
Okay.
But recently, because bankruptcy in the last couple of years has been slower,
Right.
I've been more on the real estate litigation side, and that's, you know, usually it's family members fighting over title.
Right.
over a house. I mean, I do a lot of that, and then we've been doing a lot of construction defect because, you know, everybody's renovating, and it's a lot of contractors fighting with the homeowner. So I do a lot of
The money,
construction
can I
defect.
get it back?
Right. So I do a lot of construction defect litigation, which includes.
Mechanical liens.
Right, it does include enforcing mechanics liens or defending against it. So a lot of my clients are homeowners that are defending
If
against
somebody
it.
files mechanical lien, you have to deal with it in 90 days, right?
You have to file a lawsuit to enforce the mechanics lien in 90 days. You can't just file it and let it sit there.
Right.
Yeah, if you do and that statute expires and you haven't done anything, you know,
close your house.
No.
They
So,
can, right?
well, the person putting the lien on has to also file a lawsuit in state court to enforce the lien. That lien without that lawsuit means nothing. I'll just go in and get rid of the lien, and then I'll make them pay my attorney's fees because you can't just stick a lien and then not enforce it, right? Yeah, so that's where a lot of my practice area comes in. Is usually the contractor and the homeowner get into a fight because homeowner says, "Oh, you didn't do the job correctly." The contractor says, "No, you have to pay me." Contractor usually slap on a mechanics lien, but within 90 days they have to file a complaint, and so now homeowner gets to defend that lawsuit. So I'll tell you, the most recent trial I had was pretty interesting. They filed a mechanics lien. They tried to enforce it. We counterclaimed for damages because we said, no, you owe us because you messed up the house.
Right.
We went through a 10-day trial with a jury and everything, and in the end, the jury found that the contractor didn't deserve anything and awarded us $200,000 against the contractor.
Oh, nice.
So anytime a contractor wants to put a mechanics lien on and they're in my office, I always tell them, you better make sure you're clean. Your permits are correct. You pulled all the permits on time. You know, you got an inspection. You did everything up to code. Because if you didn't, you're better off walking away from that money you think they owe you. Because they cross-complain and they find any of those things, then you're going to end up owing the homeowner and it can bankrupt them. So,
200K is a lot of money.
Do you do those tenant like
Eviction.
Yeah, we do eviction.
Evictions,
and
yeah.
stuff?
yeah, we do that
And
a lot.
do you go after like those unclaimed rent?
Yeah, you can. So yes, that usually comes in the judgment when you get an
Right.
unlawful detainer
We're in a
judgment. But
situation. So we had this number of years ago. We had a judgment, and then the tenant owed us like $17,000 or
Right.
something.
Right.
And we really haven't had a good way to pursue that money. So the court proceedings were all done. So what would your advice to go after that?
I see those judgments all the time, and you know, my advice is if you have somebody that couldn't afford that was in an unlawful detainer situation in the first place, their judgment and it's uncollectible. So unless you can find that they're working somewhere, if they have a regular job with a W-2, you can garnish the wages up to 25% until your judgment is paid off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But in this case, the tenant is like small business owner. She does her own thing on the side.
You can enforce it with a small business owner. What you can do, what's called a till tap, which means you pay the sheriff $60 a day to go sit at that person's business and see how much cash receipts is coming in.
Okay.
Okay. But how much is it going to cost you to do that till tap? You got to file. You got to get a lawyer to do all this stuff. So how big is the judgment? If it's $60,000, $80,000, I usually just say it costs you more than that attorney's fees to collect.
It's how much it will cost and how much it will
Like the worst that you to take this to a collection agency just so that
Yeah, you can go to collection. I mean, they can just call them every day and harass them. Maybe you get something, or you can
Get
call them
whatever.
yourself and say like, okay, I have this judgment, give me $5,000. But usually they don't have the money. I'll tell you, 90% of them really don't. They have less than $500 in a checking account. You'll never collect it. You have to weigh the cost of legal enforcement versus what the amount of that judgment is. So I just say you cut your losses. Yeah. Hi. Does anybody on the phone have a question?
No, we're gonna.
You gotta mute
Okay.
it, otherwise they're eating
No, we're gonna
something
cut
with
the conference.
some
It's okay.
miscellaneous sound.
Should we call it a day? That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope it was helpful. Yeah.
Appreciate it,
If you can
Nancy.
think of any other questions, you can always email me. So.哦，没问题，没问题。哦，谢谢。Okay, bye bye, everybody on the phone.
你们要去吃饭的话，
你把它切断，然后我再告诉
I'll
你
just close this.
我的 personal issue。
Karen， 你要去吃饭吗？
我可以跟你去啊，可是我跟他聊一
Question.
question.
question. Oh, there's some question here. Question.
Make it fast.
Okay, quick question. Do you have any data information regarding loan modification? How many and when we expect they will happen again?
I think you have to Google it, and because it's over, so I guess it doesn't.
Well, when you can expect what happens again? Whether the federal government's going to renew their
Depends on the last loan modification. Based on last modification, about 5 years ago.
Okay, so the hypothetical is that 5 years ago there was a loan modification. Do you think the person? You're asking me if I think that person could get another one? Is that
possible?
Is that the question?
When? Yeah.
Probably.
I'm just asking. Do you have this kind of marketing information?
Oh, like
based on your knowledge and your environment.
I don't have statistical data on how many loan modifications were granted now.
No problem. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
All right. Sure.
Okay.
I need
I'm gonna turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off. Maybe just click the cross. 好，没有，我让他看一下我的文件，很快，然后他告诉我一下那个 referral。